Alright, and we are live. Well, not quite. There is a 10-minute delay on this stream. So this is Dreadlands Conference. This has some implications for playoff picture in the International Yomi League. We take a look at exactly what the standings are looking like real fast. Should be Road to the Yomi Bowl right there. Dreadlands Conference, Malorian Thug versus Raziek. Current standings, Raziek sits at 7-3, Malorian Thug at 9-3. Gonna go into DeGray versus Zane for game 1. Not surprising, these are the main characters these guys play. Malorian Thug trying to normal draw out of that hand. Not a wonderful DeGray hand, none of his very powerful cards yet. Lots of blocks though. Meanwhile, Raziek, haven't seen his combat card yet. It was a 2 block. Okay, it's a 2 again. So, solid amount of throws. Because of shenanigans, how good or bad his initial hand isn't quite as relevant as it would be normally with other characters. So this matchup, DeGray is favored until he gets put on the ground, at which point Zane gets to ignore, for instance, DeGray's ace dodge, which is very strong in this matchup. Ace 7 throw means that DeGray's advantaged while he's standing, but as soon as he gets knocked down, Zane has a lot of fun with DeGray. DeGray only has one attack that can get him out, which is his king. Still not a great hand. Doesn't really want to power the 8s or the 4s. Raziek finally drew a jack. Going to guess he played one of his bazillion throws. Probably recognizing Malorian Thug's hand is not wonderful. The jack being Zane's knockdown ender. Yep, there's a 7 throw, doesn't need to burn a 5 yet. Functionally, the 5 and the 7 are going to beat the same things. Not a great shenanigans pull. If he wants to knock down, he can't use either of those. This is something that Raziek's actually almost famous for, his very bad shenanigans pulls. As you've seen on his guide where he pulls the 2 jokers. See next now a few things. Has the knockdown, has access to both an even and odd. Malorian Thug has seen the 2. Relies on the shenanigans in order to pull anything interesting. Alright, and he gets out. Raziek expecting a king. Might be able to make a play for Anarchy soon. So, Zane's quad ace attack, maximum Anarchy, does require 4 aces. He's deciding right now, because this would leave him with no dodges in his hand, but he'd have 3 aces, he'd be 1 shy of a maximum Anarchy. Looking at Malorian Thug's hand after that block. So he has 3 4s right now. I'd almost consider powering a couple of those away. Probably not all 3 of them. Malorian Thug's hand's just kind of messy right now. Raziek's really deciding on this power-up, or he's about to disconnect. It's a pause by Malorian Thug, possibly a disconnect issue. I can't imagine he's going to just keep 3 10s on the table for the entire game. Probably he's having some connection issues. So while we're here... So... Malorian Thug's job is to sort of disguise that his hand's really awful, but since he's been blocking for so long, that's a little difficult. Generally, you don't block for this long with DeGray unless your hand's pretty bad. But Malorian Thug's playstyle is definitely more blocking-centric than other DeGrays, because other DeGrays are very attached to his innate moral high ground. Ooh, finally draws into his very solid card, which is his queen. He didn't get his aces. No. He wasn't ready. No. He lost 3 10s for no reason. No. That's bad. Okay. They're just going to let it rock. Not going to restart the game because of the iffy connection. Okay, so with that last puck, so let's see. Finally drew a J, so now his combo damage has some teeth on it. He's going to shoot for a normal draw. Gets undercut by the 2. Which I'm not sure I disagree with the 5 attack there. So, if Zane just lost a bunch of cards, he's probably not going to try to throw his way out. He has to attack or block. Malorian Thug either really wants the normal draw to hit the block, or he's probably going to lose on attack speeds because the 2 is a known quantity. So unless he really expected Raziek to play either a 7 or a 9, I'm not sure I get the point of the 5 there. Even without complete knowledge of his hand. Does bluff away one of his 4s. Not very necessary. King 6. He's lost 2 kings to shenanigans this game. Alright, so there's the dodge. Reading the not wonderful hand. Uses that queen. And so interestingly, so Zane has no access to odd blocks. But right now, Malorian Thug doesn't have any odd mix-up normals. Because he just uses 3 as a dodge. When the 2 is probably a better call. So had he had a 3, he would be able to threaten an actual unblockable on Zane specifically. Especially since a couple of kings got peeled off the top, and he lost a 2 and a 3. Nails him with a point counterpoint. Doesn't need to flip. Would actually lose damage if he did, because he'd only be able to combo into the J, and not also the 6. Has to decide whether this is real. It is. And his hand's a little more bluffable now. Because he has access to the J, he's able to play a bit more aggressively. Raziek does draw into another 2. So he does have protection against a crossbow attempt, which again, Malorian Thug doesn't actually have a real mix-up normal, because the 2 and the 6 are always blockable by Zane. Obviously, Raziek doesn't know this, uses the 2 to try to get out of that situation. Runs into a block, so now Malorian Thug's hand's pretty big. He now has access to some power-up food for ace-ace. Probably can get rid of the 9s after this turn. And turn that into at least 1 ace. Possibly get rid of the 6s. Use the 2 as the combo filler. Meanwhile, Zane with 3 4s. Gets popped on the nose with the 2. I'll probably be 2 into J. Just for some quick, efficient damage. I imagine the 9s and the 6s are going to be gone. And then he'll be able to play some point-counterpoint games. Sorry, not point-counter, troublesome rhetoric games with aces backing them up, which is a very scary situation. No, he chooses only to get the single ace for Ghost or Post. Maybe he's trying to bluff out a Joker, because obviously Raziek can't possibly know he doesn't have a second ace, and given that DeGray has a 10-card hand, a second ace is likely. Goes for one of my favorite trap setups. So normally when you name attack with Troublesome Rhetoric, you're setting up point-counterpoint throw. But what Malorian Thug is doing is he's using the same setup, but using the dodge, attempting to severely beat an attack attempt like that. Gains 12 before the combo even starts. Draws out a very strong combo attack for Zane. And takes a bunch of damage. That is 22 points of damage, plus 12 points of life gain. Let me just close this. So that's no fun. Did draw into another ace, so now he has access to Maximum Anarchy, which can put him back in the game very quickly. He can also choose to use the 7th throw. I don't think I would, just because it's his only throw in hand at the moment. DeGray obviously still has access to his ace dodge because it wasn't thrown. which is one of the two special qualities of this dodge. One you just saw, which is the full combo off a dodge, and the other one is it returns to his hand when combat ends unless he's thrown. Ooh, he does in fact go for the throw, judging that Malorian Thug's very scared of Anarchy right now. Not a bad shenanigans pull. Probably just going to do 9 into nothing. Yeah. Quick little 15. Free damage. Trying to put him closer to that magical 50. Very surprised Malorian Thug didn't try for the Ghoster Post again, but I guess he would have only gotten a single throw. So maybe not the best. Throw 5-6 is not lethal at this point. Attempting for a dodge to Anarchy. Dodge meets dodge. Which I like in the situation. If you know that DeGray has access to Ghoster Post, throwing 4 aces at and hoping he doesn't dodge it is a bit dicey. And Malorian Thug hasn't really shown that he has access to 7s at the moment. So yeah, Raziek playing this safe until he gets access to a J. Or at least an additional throw, which he just got. Okay, so plays the Troublesome Rhetoric. Yep, drew into a 7. And so now he has to really think. So the 7's coming, almost certainly. There it is. So if he plays Maximum Anarchy right now, DeGray will not take that much damage, actually. He'll take 26 total. The good news for Raziek is that he's not going to take a bunch of damage off this. Because he can't actually do anything after the 7 right now. So that's going to be a straight giveaway to Raziek that now there's no threat of Final Arbiter. If I'm Malorian, I power those 3s away to disabuse that notion very quickly. There they go. Ace-Ace off of throw. Ace-Ace off of just raw attack. No dodges, though. He cannot dodge an Ace-Ace right now. Raziek has no dodges at all, but does have throws and Maximum Anarchy, which is just fine. Has to imagine the Ghoster Post is going to be a much smaller part of the mix-up right now. Because of the no combo off 7, so he knows that probably Malorian Thug only has 2 aces, which is correct. So I'm not sure what the throw is intending to beat. Maybe he's expecting like a cheeky 8 throw or something. Or just a straight up dodge into Final Arbiter. So I'm trying to look, so how many normal dodges could he have left, right? So 3 3s are gone. All 4 4s are gone, actually. And 1 2 is gone. So really, Malorian Thug has 4 normal dodges left in the deck. Chooses to block and does get thrown, though. So does forfeit the aggressive mix-up. And he flips the Jack. That's exactly what he needs. I'd imagine he... Does he use the 9? Because... No, he does not. Okay. Doesn't need to, because that still puts him within straight lethal range of Maximum Anarchy. And Raziek gets access to a dodge. That's huge. So Raziek now has both mix-up normals, a dodge and access. And there's the Gold Burst to Maximum Anarchy. So his knockdown mix-up was pretty scary. Oh, and Malorian Thug has another Joker. That's disgusting. 4 aces in hand and a 7. Ooh. Ooh. That's nasty. So either dodge or throw leads into lethal because Raziek has no more Jokers. Obviously, Malorian Thug can't know that. But on the other end, so Raziek has no throws. So, unbeknownst to Malorian Thug, the ace dodge is very safe, but I think he's leaning toward the point counterpoint right now based on my plan. No, he's going to go for the Ghoster Post. Okay. Raziek being very wary. Realizes he doesn't have any throws to punish it. Doesn't want to throw Maximum Anarchy into a dodge. Does draw a throw. So now he does have he has a mix-up where half of it's lethal and half of it isn't, versus a mix-up for DeGray where all of it's lethal. So that was another Ghoster post, potentially Final Arbiter. I didn't see which end he played. Plays the Final Arbiter and dies in one shot. Boom goes the dynamite. Very well played. Surprised he did not stick to the optimal mix-up. I guess that he wanted to have greater than a 50% chance of winning, so he wanted to put some attack in there as an additional hedge against throw. So he didn't just rely on the 7. But yes, that was outstandingly well played, actually, by Malorian Thug. And also by Raziek. Raziek getting a stolen win after throwing away 3 10s. Manages to land the Anarchy anyway on his first attempt to play it. With Malorian Thug dying with a Joker in hand. So looking at, Raziek's hand's very aggressive. But Malorian Thug's hand has 2 kings in it to start, an ace and a joker and a jack. This is a very good DeGray hand compared to last time, where he had to spend most of the game in refuel mode. And not wanting to get into aggressive Zane shenanigans immediately. He doesn't want to wait until he's knocked down to use these kings. He wants to use them now, while they're hot. Unfortunately, as Raziek's other throws are 2 9s, which are more useful as mix-up normals. Has solid combo filler, has queens, so no matter what he flips off shenanigans, unless it's a king, a joker, or 4, he's going to be able to do something with it because of those 3 queens, and because of his 9s. Malorian Thug's hand, even though it's pretty strong, draws a queen, so I have to think the urge to ace dodge right now is overwhelming. Either ace dodge. If I'm a Malorian Thug, do I ace dodge or do I try to block if I'm trying to be attacked? I think I ace dodge, right? Because you can get the peanut butter and jelly. Pile bunker to J. PB to J. Ah! So Raziek does have access to a king. Has his fastest normal available as a 2. If he gets a knockdown, so if he top decks a jack, has access to 9 and 6. So he has both of his most damaging mix-up normals for each end. It's a solid hand, but requires shenanigans to be a truly threatening one. On the flip side, DeGray has a bunch of awesome stuff. He has a second king. He has throws. He has a normal. She's going to use for the normal draw. Probably expecting a throw. Does, in fact, draw his 7. So I actually really like Malorian Thug's hand right now. He has a few blocks in it. If he blocks, he'll probably be with the 10 now, I would imagine, not the 9, so he doesn't deny himself of odd blocks. But he has very strong plays off of both the 7 throw and the ace dodge. Actually, not as much off the 7 throw. Oh, gets outsped, though. That's depressing. As Raziek draws a 5. He needed that extra bit of juice for the throw. Still doesn't draw anything out the shenanigans to make the hand truly threatening. He'll probably just go throw. No, he's going to go throw Q9. Okay. But that does tell Malorian Thug that Raziek needs to hit shenanigans in order to make his hand scary. So that probably makes him feel a little better. If he had gone throw, he would have been able to power all 3 queens and 3 6s for Anarchy this turn. Malorian Thug draws a second queen. So I'd imagine, again, the ace dodge. Oh, he's going to go for raw queen. Hits the throw attempt. Oof. That sucks. That was Raziek's last throw. Has to bluff away a queen to get out of the undoubtedly painful happening. So in this matchup, point counterpoint can also serve as a mix-up normal, but as a throw, it obviously beats blocks anyway. So looking at Raziek's hand, he has a 2, and he has a king, both of which he can use if he wants to try to get out of this knockdown. But he knows that Malorian Thug has access to the ace dodge. So if Malorian Thug hasn't really shown king on knockdown, so I'd imagine that Raziek's going to run attack throw mix-up while he's knocked down to try to get out of the bad situation, and not attempt to block. Yep. In fact, does read the ace, gets the 8 throw, needs a shenanigans, needs a jack to make this a very scary combat, gets a 6. So he'll probably go 6 queen. Yeah, gets all those queens out of his hand. Puts Malorian below 50, so if he ever does get access to quad ace, it is lethal, but I'm not sure he'll be able to this game. There's Malorian Thug getting his ace back. Now is a much better play off of point counterpoint with throw 6J. Raziek draws a 4, which I imagine is going to be a dedicated block unless he really feels confident landing Crash Bomb. Looking at Raziek's discard, so he has lost a 5, 3 8s, hasn't shown 7s yet, runs into the dodge, has no joker. He might be willing to bluff anyway just to not take horrific damage. Semi-disrespecting the joker. Full disrespect would have been the Queen 6J combo for a billion damage. So, still holding the 50-50. Is he going to 7 throw? Is he going to ace dodge? Possibly a little bit of king sprinkled in here and there if he expects an aggressive mix-up. Raziek does, in fact, block on his wake-up. Gets out of the bad situation. Looks like he's just... he did draw a J, but I think he's blocking some more. Malorian Thug drawing into a 4. Ah, that sucks. Get scooped. Yeah, and he can't really bluff anymore without ruining his hand, so he just has to take the damage, which is going to be 21. At the moment, Malorian Thug does not have lethal, but he does have access to 4 traps to try to put a pad on his life total with the 7 and the ace. Raziek draws into his first ace, which he might actually need more of them. Is going to try to king, expecting an aggressive play that's not the ace dodge. Runs it into K. So K for K trade. Very strong for Raziek. That's a king that Malorian Thug won't have on his knockdown. Both are going to take 10 damage. DeGray is going to get knocked down. I would have to imagine the 4 is used for ability here. For naming attacks. Raziek needs the mix-up, though. Like, really badly. Unbeknownst to him, Malorian Thug has 2 7s he has access to. Looks like Malorian Thug's going to try to block his way out of the mix-up with the 9. And it's going to get tossed. Because Raziek has access to another J, regardless of Malorian's Joker, I think he's just going to play it. Oh, Malorian holding onto the Joker, knows that he's not going to die off this setup. It's going to be throw 7J. Back in the blender we go. And possibly a Crater and Destroyer coming out. Chooses not to. Probably scared of giving Malorian Thug a better hand. Doesn't know quite how good his hand is. Malorian Thug doing a good job of showing a weak hand when he has a very strong one. Ooh, gets scouted on the 7 attempt. And that's the real McCoy. That's the Joker. So he has to think, does he want lethal, or does he want to keep the setup going? If he goes for the lethal, it's going to get jokered away. If he goes for the setup, it'll still be jokered. Yeah, ill-toll. If lethal, then lethal. He has to really think. He's going to go for the lethal. It's going to get jokered off. Pretty precarious life toll from Malorian Thug. The 2 into J is lethal here. And he did not draw into another Joker, but he does have another 4. So the 7 ace mix-up is a go. Plays the 7. Gets the scoop, and I have to imagine this is game 2 going to Malorian Thug. Yep, and that's game 2. A great exercise in Malorian Thug disguising that his hand was very, very good. Keeping Raziek from burying the Joker, the 2 7s, and the ace. So Raziek's opening hand against another one of those. I really want shenanigans to make this hand actually scary. He has access to a bunch of throws in his 2, and his first ace. Malorian Thug, jeez, has both ends of blocks, has 2 7s, 2 kings to start the day. He's coming out guns blazing. Gets popped by a 2. Raziek scouting out the point counterpoint early. Gets a very bad shenanigans pull. The 3 is not going to add very much damage. And the king's obviously unusable right now. Not even bothering to use the 3. He's just like, just give me my damage. He didn't want to only do 11 that combat. Draws in another 9. Malorian Thug drawing into a second 10. And I have to wonder if Malorian's going to try to block. Okay. Or if he's just going to try to run an aggressive mix-up. But knowing Malorian's style of block, that makes a lot of sense. Also because if your throw gets hit turn 1, it's a little bit of a jar. It makes you feel like, oh, I have to calm down for a second. You don't necessarily have to, but it's a very tempting mental state there. Oh, for those interested, this is a first to 3, with free counter picks allowed. Raziek, I believe, going for a safe defensive play again. Gets scooped by the 10. Gets the block out without Malorian Thug having to burn his point counterpoint, and he's going to get good damage. It's going to be a quick 21 points damage, yes. Extra little points of damage from the moral high ground bonus. Raziek again trying to block his way into a better hand. Needs either shenanigans or J's to make this very scary. Blocks the first king. Okay. Another little twitch a lot of players will go for after they get thrown. They'll try to immediately punch the next throw, especially if it's something like a 10. Raziek, deciding to hold on with the block, does in fact draw out one of DeGray's kings. Now it's 2 aces and 2 kings, and one of his fast throws, so he has a much stronger hand. Malorian Thug still having access to a bunch of decent cards, though. But if a crash bomb happens to you, what are you going to do? So far, Raziek, I believe, 2 for 2 on crash bombs. Doesn't have the 4. No dodges either, so if he thinks that Malorian Thug's going to play a king, his only real answer is to play crash bomb at it, which carries the risk of it getting blocked and him getting knocked down into a bad situation. Has access to 2 and 9, but I think he's going to almost always go from the 9 here. He needs the 2. No? Fix my face. For the most part, when you have that with Zane, your 2 is too important as a general combat card because it's his fastest normal. It's his fastest combat card, period, not counting the interrupting properties of his king or his aces. So they're very important to keep him from getting bullied by even reasonably fast attacks. Does draw into a dodge, though. And he has a hand that's basically begging Raziek to go aggressive. Malorian's hand, I'm not sure quite how to judge this. I mean, he has damage off the dodge. He can do dodge, 10 throw, 3 attack J. He has the king. He has point counterpoint into J. Plays at 7 side first. That's a very confident 7. You're going to throw, and I'm not even going to bother pitching a card. I'm just going to punch you. Kick you, I guess. This is a degrade kick animation. Draws out a face down. That's an incredibly strong read. Wow. Because if that was a block, you'd have to discard a card to get past it, and then he wouldn't get a normal draw to replace it. Like if you played your 7 first and then discarded, you'll get the normal draw to replace it. So that was a very, very hard read on throw to just play the 7 attack side first. But he has 3 7s, and I think that he's very tempted to play both of them. But he's going to temper it for a second. Could have played the 7, but does play his ace dodge. Raziek drawing into his J. So now he does have access to the Vortex of Doom. Malorian Thug drawing into another king. And I can't imagine Raziek not playing aggressively here. He's going to get a 7 kicked in the teeth by point counterpoint. And if there's no face down, I think he'll just play the J for quick and easy damage. No reason to play the kings. He needs them as combat cards. So the only problem I have with Malorian Thug's hand is his only power up for Final Arbiter is his 2 3s, which I think are really important as auxiliary dodges and as odd mix-ups against Zane. Very good dodge on the king. This is a bluff, so we'll have to see. Terrible shenanigans pull. It's going to get rid of him as 2s and a 3. Those are 2 cards you never want to see there. Fortunately for him, he has 2 kings in his hand, so he can just get the knockdown and 10 damage. Even if that was a Joker, I don't think he has a problem playing the king. He's silently assembling an anarchy. So the question is, so now Malorian's mix-up, is he going to play the king and again go for pretty heavy blow-up on most attack opportunities, or is he going to try to get the sneaky 7? Which unfortunately doesn't lead to a whole ton of damage for him. To be honest, King block is a pretty solid defensive mix-up here. On the other side of the coin, Zane's only attack that he would want to use is 9, but that is unblockable right now. And he will choose to use it. Warren's on getting some life back, but he's going to lose it just as quickly. Easy enough. 8 throw J, I would imagine, is the combo here. To keep the J in hand. He's thinking about it. No, he's got a 5 throw, really. Not 8. I guess he needs access to the block. Okay. It's interesting play. I'm not sure I agree with it. Gets access to the 4 now. Oh, speaking of 4s, there's another one. Naming attacks again. I have to imagine this one's going to be a king and not a 7 throw. Yeah. Gets red pretty hard. If he pulls the 4th ace off the top, the game's over, and we're going to game 4. Doesn't. That would have been pretty nasty. That'd be a very distressing way to lose, for sure. I think he's just going to play his king and keep the mix-up going. This is the quietest Anarchy setup ever. We've gone down, we're about to go down to Raziek having 23 cards in his deck. He still hasn't gotten all of Anarchy, but he's 3/4 of the way there. He's been 3/4 of the way to Anarchy for most of the game. Now without access to the king, this is a true 50-50. Malorian Thug has nothing better than just either 5 blocking or 8 blocking. And that's assuming Raziek only plays mix-up normals. Will block his way out of the setup correctly. Draws into a king, go figure. Normal draw draws Raziek into another throw. And now Malorian Thug gets rid of the 3s for Final Arbiter. Raziek now has both of his jokers, though. So anyway, the Final Arbiter is realistically going to hit his naked. And it gets red, gets the throw. He's not going to die on this turn, but it's going to not be pleasant. Oh, doesn't even matter when he picks. It's probably going to just be Queen J. Gets the knockdown. Gets the upside down queen for very zany. Upside down 8, upside down queen, upside down J. That is the zaniest way to play those cards. Unfortunately, do they? Yes, they stay upside down the discard pile. That's amazing. Gets the 4th ace. Ah! Like, his ace senses have to be tingling so hard right now. Like, he really wants to play that very silent Anarchy that he's been holding, he just got. It would have won the game! Ah! But now I think now that he's standing, he's just going to play Anarchy next turn, right? He has 2 jokers. Oh my god, this is amazing. Will Raziek win another game with Maximum Anarchy? Or will he go for the throw, which is lethal but not quite as exciting to talk about? Again, has 2 jokers, so he's not quite as scared of the ace dodge, I'd imagine. Letting Malorian Thug hang himself on time trouble. So now he has a bit more time to consider. He's going to play the boring side of the ace. But it's a good thing he did, because that dodge is looming. Going to play the joker and not get hit by something nasty. Unbeknownst to Malorian Thug, he does have access to both aces. And a trade of ace-ace will win Raziek the game. Malorian Thug has a straight 50-50 into lethal damage. But Raziek does have access to his other joker. So 3 aces. So yeah, he has access to 7 into aces, or ace into aces. Meaning that Raziek's counter mix-up is the 5 throw, or the 7 even, or the aces themselves. Chooses the 3. Keeps the aces in hand. I imagine he has to joker here, because otherwise he loses the game. And that's going to be all prevented. And Malorian Thug is left with a 5 and an ace in his hand. Raziek has, I think, the best chances of winning right now, unless Malorian Thug pulls a miracle. Ooh, gets popped. Okay. Raziek showing some pretty heavy restraint with those aces. Gets the normal draw to a 5. 5-6J, so 11 plus 7 is 18. That might kill him. 5-6J would be lethal right now. Dodge 5-6J is also lethal. One of the most frustrating things I find when I play this game is my opponent has a defensive mix-up, attack dodge that leads into death. And I'm the one who has to put myself at risk to not lose. So this is a mutual lethal situation. No jokers for Malorian Thug. Even though he hasn't gotten a joker all game, so that's distressing. No jokers available for Raziek, and that's known. Lethal in both hands. DeGray's lethal is off of a defensive mix-up. Raziek's is off an offensive mix-up. But Raziek might also have room to play dodges into it. Gets hit with the 5, and that's going to be the game. I think. So hang on. 4, 3. Not quite. 17. He's going to be at 1? Are you kidding me? The normal draw pushes him just barely away from lethal. Still has access to the ace dodge. Blocking is absolutely not an option for Raziek right now, because the J would be lethal chip. So it comes down potentially to this turn. Normally the answer to an attack... Yeah, he's going to play the J, because normally the answer to an attack dodge or block mix-up is to just block or dodge. If you don't have dodges, you have to block to kill the mix-up, but that kills you because of the chip damage from J. So he has to commit to the throw there and gets hit by the J. Excellent comeback from Malorian Thug, who was stuck in a very bad situation on a very low hand and pulls it out. And that ace discipline ended up costing Raziek his life. I think Raziek's going to stick with Zane this entire set. Yep. So now he's locked into Zane. He has to play Zane if he wants to pull this out. Malorian Thug, if he loses this next one, has the right to a counterpick. And Raziek's starting with 3 aces already. He might even get a turn 2 anarchy. Gets dodged. If he pulls the ace from the top, it might be a turn 1 anarchy. But we are not that lucky, unfortunately. That would be amazing. I think that's the exact reason he dodged. But now he has a hand full of attacks and nothing else. So he has to hide. Okay, he just got a throw, so it's a little less dire. Malorian Thug is either going to play a 5, a 6, or a K. Not much to be said here. It's kind of even block. Has no throws in his hand, so that's a very awkward start for DeGray. Has 2 kings, so he might be able to just play them out and just try to draw into better cards while trying to chuck damage at Raziek's face. I think Raziek's not going to power away the jacks. If you power the jacks away for a single ace, doesn't that give away the game that you have anarchy? Powering the queens now. That's a thing he could do. But I think he's going to try to dodge into anarchy one more time and see if shenanigans is his friend. Meanwhile, Malorian Thug still having the poor luck of not drawing to any throws. Has a bunch of face cards, no throws. 2 dodges, no throws. Gets dodged. Okay, so will we pull the ace off the top? Will we be fortunate enough to see a very early anarchy? No. We're going to see a very early king into knockdown. If I'm Raziek, I think I power the queens and see if I can hit the really cheeky anarchy. Again, he has this ace discipline that I cannot replicate. I think he's going to go for the I'm going to keep dodging until I draw an ace off the top of my deck. Gets the first king out of the way, though, so that worked out for him. What the... That was an interesting glitch. Joker and a 9. Wow. That's depressing. That's a Joker gone. And that's a very good news from Lawrence Thug. Yep, plays the J. Get back on the ground. Gets another dodge. Ah. I think his deck's trying to tell him something. Keep dodging. You'll get 50 damage eventually. You'll get it from somewhere. Malorian Thug does, in fact, finally draw a stop to the mono dodge Zane strategy that Raziek's employing. Gets scooped, though. No mix-up normals yet, but he hasn't really had one. So he's going to throw 7J. So this will put him in the lethal anarchy range. I would love to have the pleasure of casting a game where you get a maximum anarchy-induced perfect. He's still not powering the queens away. Ah. I wouldn't be able to do this. I would have tried to chuck anarchy at his face like 4 times by now. But Raziek has this incredible discipline that I cannot replicate. Is going to draw out another king. Still doesn't have a Joker. Still hasn't drawn an ace. So he's going to have to end the fun at 9 damage. Okay. He's not going to go for anarchy as hard as I hoped he would. He'll just be happy with his 8th throw being potential lethal off of the 2 queens. Although if he dodges again and pulls an ace off the top, I'm going to laugh until I shit myself, because that would just be the best. That'd be the best ever. Lawrence Thug has 7 queen, 2 aces. He's finally drawn into a hand, but he's taken 70 points of damage to get to a hand that's serviceable. Gone through 2 kings. Gone through so many attacks, actually, and a block. He's going to finally get a chance to deal some damage. It's probably going to be just 7 aces. I don't think he's going to fuck around. He knows he doesn't have much time if Raziek's hand improves, so he needs to kill him very quickly. He's debating between 5J and ace. Normally I would go for the 5J, but in this situation you need to convert your hand to damage as quickly as possible, even if you have 3 Js, and those are the only aces you will see for the rest of the game. You need to make your hits hurt when you're that far behind. So, DeGray does have a throw. I don't think that Raziek's going for the I'm going to dodge all the time strat, but he is going to block into a 9 throw. Lawrence Thug getting a chance to get that billion damage bailout. Getting 48 points of damage in 2 turns. Gets a throw. So if he hits with a throw or a pile bunker, I think he's a very happy old ancient dude lawyer with a ghost following him around. Ooh, that could have been so bad if the other end of that was showing. Does not get his piles bunked. And after holding onto those queens for the entire game, he finally powers it for an ace. Maybe I'm just a little upset he didn't do it earlier. Rhetoric on attacking knows that anarchy is impossible because of the 2 aces in the discard. Sorry, the 1 ace in the discard. Does not have access to a 7. So if he throws, it's not going to be a cheating throw, it's going to be a real one. It's going to with a 9 damage J? 9 damage J. So Raziek is in lethal range right now, as weird as that sounds, because of the sheer amount of moral high ground bonus that Valorian Thug would get if he lands throw 3J. And 12, the J would have to be a 5-card bonus. No, he'd be a point off again. He'd be 1 point off lethal right now, if he lands the throw. Because of the J play, it also disguises whether he has access to a 5. Gets crash bombed. Okay. So no access to kings. No access to jokers at the moment. This is going to be a really nasty mix-up. There's no mix-up normal. But again, this cannot possibly be known by Malorian Thug. We go discard crawlings. So from Malorian Thug's standpoint, he can't possibly know that there's no mix-up normal. Like, there's normals in the discard, but Zane has a lot of them. Doesn't have access to a king. I'd have to think he plays the 8, the 9, or the 10. Playing the 3 would be really strange if you expect a mix-up normal. But Raziek's only mix-up is off of throw. So if Malorian Thug plays the valuation option, he will lose this game, because 8 throw dominates all of his real defensive options. 5 throw dominates it. And he's going to get thrown. That's going to end the game, unless he bluffs out of his ass. But I think he's just going to play the 7. There's no real reason not to. Even if there is a joker, like, go for the lethal. It's risk-free. You're not burning cards. Even goes for the knockdown for extra insurance to get an additional mix-up. And we're going to a deciding game. Raziek's, again, his incredible ace discipline almost loses him the game because he gets knocked down to a very low life total. So Malorian Thug, I know he has a grave if he wants to try to counterpick. But I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, he is going to attempt a counterpick with grave. I believe Raziek thinks this matchup is not wonderful because grave has 3 cards, that beat media attacks, queen, single ace, triple ace. But on the flip side, Grave's throw game is absolutely atrocious. Zane's 2 cuts under Grave's J, which is a bit irritating. On the flip side, Grave's 10 can counter Crash Bomb, so Zane doesn't have access to that resource to cheat his way out of moves. But also in a neutral situation without media attacks, if Zane doesn't have access to aces, Grave's King is actually a very strong card. It beats his Zane's 2. And if you have a 10 backup, you know you're going to beat the King. I believe in the Anarchist's Cookbook, or whatever Raziek called his Zane guide, he said this is a matchup where you'll try to save for Anarchy. Because you're not scared of Grave's throw game, but his attack game might bother you. So you want access to a dodge dominant. You want access to a throw 50 damage shot in this matchup for your mix-up. 6 and 2 for the shenanigans pull is not great. Q69 I think is the most damage you can get here. No, you can't even do Q69. You can do 2 Q6Q. But he needs the queen to make his future shenanigans pulls better. So he's going to cut the combo off at 15. He's sacrificing damage now, so if he gets another hit later, he can still convert into damage. You see, I haven't talked to you guys, actually. I know there's at least a few of you watching the stream, right? Just need to turn my audio preview off, because it's going to be a little awkward. I'm time traveling right now. Because of the delay. Mute. Hello, viewers. How are you? We have a few viewers today. Thank you for anyone who's followed. Viewer list. We have Bomber, Eat Maggot, Lettuce Mode, and XCKRX. I guess that's CKR, right? Okay, so going back to the match. So that was a block dodge turn. Oh, that's gonna suck. This is a time where I don't think you counter Crash Bomb. Huh, do I want to knock him down and lose my queen? I don't think so. I get annoying the opponent and the king goes off in my face. That sucks. Oh, that's gross. So now he's threatening an unblockable versus block mix-up. That is gross. And either end of this gets him a queen. But he has 2 queens already, so it's like even grosser. He might not even do it. Like, I think he plays end of the 5. He's just deciding which one. Tries for the unblockable. No go. Is going to get the little bit of insurance off of the extra card draw. Again, a horrible shenanigans flip. I think he'll just play the 3 off the flip and then let it go, because he can't really afford to waste his hand right now. No? Okay. He's just going to go for max damage, but now he has a very questionable hand. He could try to play the 4, but Grave has an 11-card hand, so you're not going to be doing too much. Like, you'll just give him a draw 11, and that's potentially very good for Grave. Like, you could give him True Power of Storms and 2 Jokers or something disgusting like that. If he powers for True Power Storms, that's when you have to start threatening the 4. So now he's stuck in a hand where he kind of has to block his way out, and chooses to throw in